How you doing, folks? You're watching Onward with Onrie, and I'm your host, Henri Kompan. This week's episode is going to tackle creative roadblocks and some of the things you can do to work past them. As a matter of fact, right now the Yi Sun-shin team just stumbled across our own creative roadblock, and we're working towards clearing it right now. We're always trying to raise the bar with every new scene we create for the book, and oftentimes that requires us to take a little longer to think about what would make for the strongest scene. The one thing I always make certain not to do is panic or get frustrated. Personally, I find that the more you panic, the more it shows in your finished work. The same goes for selling at conventions. If you give off the impression that your focus is elsewhere, or that you're concerned about how slow a show is, it can, and most definitely will, get in the way of building connections with potential readers. So when I get stuck creatively, I take a step back and go to the one place that I know can help me work through my blocks: the almighty comic book shop. This week I decided to visit Chicago Comics with a few purposes in mind. First, I wanted to browse racks and see what comic book covers popped out. I always pay special attention to anything that catches my eye. I find that to be a much better method of selecting comics than simply buying stuff on a weekly basis. Although there's nothing wrong with that, my reasons for coming to comic shops when I hit creative roadblocks are primarily to find inspiration, not necessarily entertainment. Second, I wanted to chat with store owners about what's new and hot. I also wanted to find out what they're reading and why. Even though Yi Sun-shin is not a direct market comic book, it's important to know what's selling and why. It's one thing to hear about it from a source you read online, and a completely different thing to discuss it with retailers. The perspective they provide from being on the front lines is important, and you never know how it can influence your thinking in the future. Finally, I wanted to follow leads that I got from Dak. Prior to going to any comic shops, I always ask him what he thinks I should be reading. I'll get to what he recommended in a moment, but for those of you who don't have a trusted grizzled editor to light the way for you, you can always ask fellow professionals what they recommend you read to get past your creative roadblocks. Now, what did I buy this week and why? Let's dive into it. First off, I picked up 2 comics that the Chicago Comics staff recommended. The first is Middle West #1. This book didn't jump out at me right away, but here's what the staff of Chicago Comics had to say about it.
Yeah, this just started last week, so it's pretty recent. I'm not sure when this is going up. It's Scotty Young doing the writing. He's usually known for his art, for his variant covers at Marvel. And it's a beautiful book about a kid who lives in a world very similar to ours, but there seems to be more to it than that. There seems to be like weird spirits and stuff that like just roam around, and it's just natural. Like, it's not like a weird, scary thing in this world. It kind of reminded me of I Kill Giants.
Okay, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie yet?
Yes, I saw the movie. I really enjoyed that too.
Oh, really? I didn't even see it yet. Yeah. But I love that.
It's on one of
graphic novel.
It's on one of the streaming sites for free. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's even better.
I'm not going to plug anything, but it's on the streaming site right now.
The next recommendation was the first trade for the Immortal Hulk, and Chicago Comics had this to say about it.
Not what you would think good art for like a horror book would be, but it fits really well. It's an old take that feels brand new, and basically it's the Hulk as this menacing, kind of scary being in the Marvel Universe, and how people perceive him, and Bruce Banner has no idea how to control him anymore. It's back to basics.
Because he did know how to control him.
Well, he wasn't afraid of him anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and like this is back to Bruce Banner having no idea how to like deal with this.
Yeah.
Because Bruce Banner was always, for a long time, he was so smart he could figure it out.
Right.
And now he's not really there anymore, and now the Hulk is like unleashed, and that's terrifying for everyone, including Bruce Banner. And yeah, it's such a good read.
I also decided to dig around the back issue section and picked out a couple of comics that I remembered having a significant impact on my youth. Another great way to find inspiration. Another book I picked up was something I've been waiting a whole year for. Jeff Darrow's work on Shaolin Cowboy has had an influence on my approach to layouts ever since I was first introduced to his work. I've been waiting for the newest book for some time now, and I'm thrilled to add it to my reading list. Finally, I picked up a couple books that Dak recommended I check out. Alex Raymond's work on Flash Gordon features lots of very detailed art with very showy layouts, that will all serve as inspiration for the book. As you can see, I now have a lot of reading to do, and while it seems unproductive to be reading comics while trying to make my own, the things I'll pick up from reading these books will no doubt allow me to work past my creative roadblocks. Even though I'm not actually writing or drawing layouts, my brain is working on coming up with solutions to the problems that are presented to me. And in this business, remember, you're not creative until you are. Now, for reasons that could spoil the story for you, we're not going to reveal anything on the show about how any of these books have an effect on our work. But take our word for it. We're making progress. And with every passing day, we're getting closer and closer to finishing Hunter and Destroyer 1. And you can bet your lucky stars that it'll feature showy layouts, dynamic action sequences, and a story that will advance our characters and leave you begging for more. All right, folks, we'll see you next week with a brand new episode. Until then, onward to victory.